welcome back. So you've been really enjoying the Phantom Toll Booth. So yeah, let's get in. So we left off at Chapter 1. Now we're going to go to Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Beyond Expectations. Suddenly, he found himself speeding along an unfamiliar country highway. As he looked back over his shoulder, neither the toll booth, nor his room, nor even the house was anywhere in sight. What had started as make-believe was now very real. What a strange thing to have happened, he thought, just as you must be thinking right now. This game is much more serious than I thought for here. I'm riding on a road I never seen, going to a place I never heard of, and all because of toll booths which came from nowhere. I'm certainly glad that it's a nice day for a trip, he concluded hopefully for at a moment. This was the one thing he definitely knew. The sun sparkled, the sky was clear, and all the colors he saw seemed to be richer and brighter than he could ever remember. The flowers shone as if they'd been cleaned and polished, and the tall trees that lined the road and shimmered in silvery green. "Welcome to Expectation," said a carefully lettered sign on a small house at the other side of the road. Information, predictions, and advice cheerfully offered. Park here and blow horn. With the first sound from a horn, a little man in a long coat came rushing from the house, speaking as fast as he could and repeating everything several times. My, welcome to the land of expectation, to the land of expectation, to the land of expectation. We don't get many travelers these days. We certainly don't get many travelers these days. Now, what can I do for you? I'm the weatherman. Is this the right road for Dictionopolis? Asked Milo, a little bowled over by the effusive greeting. Well now, he began again. I don't know any wrong road to Dixonopolis, so if this road goes to Dixonopolis at all, it must be the right road, and if it doesn't, it must be the right road to somewhere else. Somewhere else. Because there are no wrong road to anywhere. Do you think it will rain? I thought you were the weatherman, said Milo, very confused. Oh no, said the little man. I'm the weatherman, not the weatherman. For after all, it's more important to know what weather there will be, than what the weather will be. And with that, he released a dozen balloons that sailed off into the sky. Must see which way the wind is blowing, he said, checking over his little joke and watching them disappear in all directions. What kind of place is Expectations? Inquired Milo, unable to see the humor and feeling very doubtful of the little man's sanity. Good question, he exclaimed. Okay, now, good question, he exclaimed. Expectations is the place you must always go before you get to where you're going. Of course, some people never go beyond expectations, but my job is to hurry them along whether they like it or not. Now, what else can I do for you? And before Milo could reply, he rushed into the house and reappeared a moment later with a new coat and umbrella. I think I can find my own way, said Milo, not at all sure that he could, but since he didn't understand the little man at all, he decided that he might as well move on at least. until he met someone whose sentences didn't always sound as if they would make as much sense backwards as forwards. Splendid, 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 exclaimed the weatherman. Whether or not you find your own way, you're bound to find some way. If you happen to find my way, please return it, as it was lost years ago. I imagine by now it's quite rusty. You did say it was going to rain, didn't you? And with that, he opened the umbrella and walked into with Milo's car. I'm glad you made your own decision. I do hate to make up my mind about anything, whether it's good or bad, or up or down, or in or out, rain or shine. Except everything I always say, and the unexpected never happens. Now please drive carefully. Goodbye, 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 good. His last goodbye was drowned out by an enormous clap of thunder. As Milo drove down the road in the bright sunshine, he could see the weatherman standing in the middle of the fierce cloudburst that seemed to be raining only on him. The road dipped now onto a broad green valley and stretched towards the horizon. The little car bounded along with the very little effort, and Milo had hardly to touch the accelerator to go as fast as he wanted. He was glad to be on his way again. It's all very well to spend time in expectations, he thought, but talking to that strange man all day would certainly get me nowhere. He's the most particular person I ever met, continued Milo, unaware of how many particular people he would shortly encounter. As he drove along the peaceful highway, he soon fell to daydreaming and paid less and less attention to where he was going. In a short time, he wasn't paying any attention at all, and that's why at a fork in the road, when a sign pointed to the left, Milo went to the right. Oh. Along a route which looked suspiciously like the wrong way, things began to change as soon as he left the main highway. The sky became quite gray, and along with it, the whole countryside seems to lose its color as soon the same Morrison tone. Everything was quiet, and even the air hung heavily. The birds sang only gray songs, and the road wound back and forth in endless series of climbing curves. Miles after miles he drove, and now gradually the car went slower and slower until it was hardly moving at all. It looks as though I'm getting nowhere, yawned Milo, becoming very drowsy and dull. I hope I haven't taken a wrong turn. Miles after miles, and everything became grayer and more noxious. Finally, the car just stopped altogether, and as hard as he tried, it wouldn't budge another inch. I wonder where I am, said Milo in a very worried tone. You're in the doldrums, waddled a voice that sounded far away. He looked around quickly to see who had spoken. No one was there, and it was quiet and still as one he could imagine. Yes, the doldrums, yawned another voice, but he still saw no one. What are the doldrums? He cried loudly and tried very hard to see who would answer this time. The doldrums, my young friend, are where nothing ever happens and nothing ever changes. This time the voice came from so close that Milo jumped with surprise, for it was sitting right on his shoulder. so lightly that he hardly noticed, was a small creature exactly on the color of his shirt. "Allow me to introduce all of us," the creature went on. "We are the Legresses at your service." Milo looked around and for the first time noticed dozens of them sitting on the car, standing on the road, and lying all over the trees and bushes. They were very difficult to see, but whatever they happened to be sitting on or near was exactly the color they happened to be. Each one looked very much like the other, except the color, of course. And some looked even more like each other than they did like themselves. "I'm very pleased to meet you," said Milo, not sure whether or not he was pleased at all. "I think I'm lost. Can you help me?" "Don't say think." Wait. "Don't say think," said one sitting on his stool, for the one on his shoulder had fallen asleep. "It's against the law," and yawned back. And he yawned and fell off to sleep too. "No one's allowed to think in the doldrums," continued the third, beginning to doze off. And as each one spoke, he fell off to sleep, and another picked up the conversation with hardly anything interruption. "Do you have a rule book?" "It's a local ordinance. 175389. Milo quickly pulled the rule book from his pocket, opened to page, and read Ordinance 175389. "It shall be unlawful, illegal, and unaesthetic to think of the thinking, summarize, presume, reason, meditate, or speculate while in the doldrums, and anyone breaking this law shall be severely punished." "Everyone but the terrible watchdog," said two of them stuttering in chorus. "He's always sniffing around to see if nobody wastes time. A most unpleasant character." "The watchdog?" said Milo quizzically. "The watchdog," shouted another, fainting from fright, for racing down the road, barking furiously and kicking up a great cloud of dust, was the very dog of whom they had been speaking. "Run! Wake up! Run! Here he comes! The watchdog!" Great shout filled the air as the Legris scattered in all directions and soon disappeared entirely. "Rolf!" exclaimed the watchdog as he dashed up to the car, loudly puffing and panting. Milo's eyes opened wide, for there in front of him was a large dog with a perfectly normal head, 4 feet, and a tail, and the body of loudly ticking alarm clock. "What are you doing here?" growled the watchdog. Right. "Just killing time," replied Milo apologetically. "You see—" "Killing time!" roared the dog so furiously that his alarm went off. "It's bad enough wasting time without killing it," and he shuddered at the thought. "Why are you in the doldrums anyway? Don't you have anywhere to go?" "I was on my way to Dictionopolis when I was stuck here," explained Milo. "Can you please help me?" "Help you? You must help yourself," the dog replied, carefully winding himself with his left hind leg. "I suppose you know why you got stuck." "I guess it was I just wasn't thinking, said Milo. Precisely, shouted the dog as his alarm went off again. Now you should know what you must do. I'm afraid I don't know, admitted Milo, feeling quite stupid. Well, continued the watchdog impatiently. Silence! You got here by not thinking. It seems reasonably to expect that in order to get out, you must start thinking. And with that, he hopped into the car. Do you mind if I get in? I love automobile rides. Milo began to think as hard as he could, which was very difficult since he wasn't used to it. He thought of birds that swim and fish that fly. Thought of yesterday's lunch and tomorrow's dinner. He thought of words that began with the J and numbers that end in 3. And as he thought, the wheels began to turn. We're moving, he shouted happily. Keep thinking, scolded the watchdog. The little car started to go faster and faster as Milo's brain whirled with activities, and down the road they went. In a few moments they were out of the doldrums and back to the main highway. All the colors had returned to their original brightness, and as they raced along the road, Milo continued to think all sorts of things, like of the many detours and wrong turns that were so easy to take, of how fine it was to be moving along, and most of all, of how much could be accomplished with just a little thought. And the dog, his nose in the wind, just sat back, watchfully ticking. Okay, now we'll do that later on. Bye, guys.